Hey y'all, so welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about something specific that I wish I had covered in the last video, but it didn't really fit the theme. So the theme of last week's video is what makes a serial killer. What are some things that can cause a person to become a serial killer? This is more things that we can find as humans and observers of the world, what a serial killer might do. Or what a serial killer might do. As children, this is when they're like little kids. And like not even little kids, but up to high school, that you will most likely find. So it's something that the FBI and law enforcement call the homicidal triad. So let me tell you what they are. There are three things. It's cruelty to animals, bedwetting, and arson. So let's go over those. Bedwetting. Do not hear me say that every single person who ever wets the bed is a serial killer, because it's not at all what I'm saying. This is somebody who's doing it at least once a week up to high school. Sometimes not high school, sometimes 7th or 8th grade. But it is past the time where they shouldn't be scared of the dark and they should be able to hold their bladder, but they are consistently wetting the bed. That is something that is a dead giveaway. The second one, cruelty to animals. That means punching, kicking, cutting, pulling out clumps of fur, throwing them against walls, tying them to things, stuff like that. Now, do not hear me say tying them to things and thinking, you're chaining them to a tree in the backyard by their collar. No, this is like putting them up against a tree and tying their whole body to the trunk of this tree. Or hanging them from branches of a tree, whatever the case may be. Another one is they will kill and or keep a live animal and then will tie either the dead or live animal to like a little altar almost and light it on fire. And that's where arson comes into play. These are small or big deliberate fires. Usually it'll be to harm or kill something or somebody. Like little dog houses made out of wood. If a dog is in there, they will trap them in there with branches or whatever it may be and then light the dog house on fire because, they can now hear the dog. And that's arson and cruelty to animals right there. Chances are, if you see at least two of these three things, arson and cruelty to animals, chances are you need to have a serious sit down with that child and possibly get them into therapy. And if that doesn't work, they need to go into a mental institution or jail, and chances are they'll get caught eventually. Now, do not hear me say that everybody who sets fires is a serial killer as well. No. Some people just like to experiment with fire when they're kids. I had an uncle. He set up sticks and lit it on fire. Now, luckily, my dad ran out there and stopped him from stacking the sticks against the house and lighting it on fire, but he was curious. So my dad told them not to stack it against their wooden house, to stack it somewhere. And they had buckets of water before they lit it on fire so they could control it. So there's that. At least that's the story I've heard. And I might be remembering it incorrectly, so do not quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that's the story I heard. So, but, yeah. Anyway. Chances are if you see cruelty to animals, there's something that child either wants to talk about or needs to talk about, because that's kind of worrying, at least for me. But those are three things that if you see all three of those things in a child's past, chances are something's wrong. But so that's mainly what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about blitz attacks as well. I know I mentioned them in the previous video, but I didn't really get into them. So a blitz attack is when somebody, serial killer, has lost total control. So like I said in the last video, they will get a high every time they kill. And of course, the first high is always better than the others. So a blitz attack can happen when the high is no longer fulfilling them. So they're just going to go and kill whenever and whoever they feel like. It might not be a target. Blitz attacks very rarely have targets because it's a blitz. They just are doing it whenever they want. That's why it's called a blitz attack. So they're just going to do it. A blitz attack usually is more than one casualty. So blitz attacks, once they go on blitz attacks, they're very, very hard to catch. because there's no pattern. There's no target. There's nothing to follow. They're going completely off precedent. So it's very hard to catch them, but blitz attacks will usually end by suicide or suicide by cop. So if you don't know what suicide by cop is, the cops basically have this person cornered. They know they're not going to get out of that alive, and if they do, they're going to jail. But usually by the time suicide by cop has come around, they've given up hope. They don't want to go to jail. Their mission is done. They're ready. They will usually take a hostage and hold a gun to the hostage or a knife to the throat of a hostage and tell them, kill me, or I'm going to kill this hostage, and then you. Usually it's a gun held to the head of a hostage, and what they'll do to get suicide by cop is they will throw that hostage on the ground, and then they will turn the gun to a cop. And that is why the cops will shoot them. Now, some cops will shoot them in the arm of the hand that's holding the gun. So if they're holding it in their right hand, they'll get a shot in the right arm or in the left arm if it's in their left. If it's in their left hand. Some will shoot them in the legs just to get them to lower the gun and go for it, and then they can get the gun away from them. But some of them know, if I don't kill this guy right now, I'm gonna lose officers or innocent people, and that is when the cops will shoot them. Suicide by cop is getting yourself killed by having cops do it. But that usually happens at the end of a blitz attack. So again, the high is not fulfilling them, so they're just going to go and kill anybody and everybody that they can. It is when the cooling off period has become non-existent. The cooling off period is the period between kills. So that means they killed somebody yesterday and they killed another person today. Blitz attacks also come where there was a cooling off period and it got shorter and shorter until there was none. It is also when, again, the high hasn't become as exciting. Just killing a person, a target, is no longer fulfilling that urge that they have. And it usually comes at the end of, their crime spree. They know it's coming to an end. And so they're just going to kill everybody that they can. There's more to blitz attacks. I probably cannot describe it as well as other people can. Just because, I haven't, researched them very much. I know dogs are barking. I don't know why. Sadie is barking, mainly. So, blitz attacks are a sudden, overwhelming attack. And blitz are usually the end. So they're called blitz attacks because a blitz is a overwhelming military attack during war. They call it a blitz. And usually a blitz can lead to the end of conflict. So that's why it's called a blitz attack, is because they know it's coming to an end and it's just random. So what they want is to overpower or completely surprise the enemy. The army does. That's why it's called the blitz. And it usually involves bombings. So Pearl Harbor, that was a blitz attack. Except instead of ending any conflict, it started a conflict. It started World War II, right? But the reason they call it a blitz attack is because usually it comes at the end of a conflict. There are killers that just go on blitz attacks and then will either kill themselves or do suicide by cop. A lot of time a blitz attack will come before a target. So, for example, Ted Bundy. I will use him a lot because I have studied him extensively because he was in Florida when my mom was in Florida. So, my mom was younger. She wasn't the right age for him. But Ted Bundy killed women that reminded him of an ex-girlfriend that jilted him. So he hated her. So he's killing women who looked like her. Now, some serial killers will stop with surrogates, people who remind them of that person. Some people will not. Ted Bundy went on a blitz. I believe had he not been captured, he would have gone after his ex-girlfriend, specifically. So blitz will come right before the target of their affection. The person that they are killing over and over again. Sometimes it's a mother or any maternal figure. Sometimes it's a teacher. Sometimes it's a sibling. I mean, it can be anybody. But a lot of time a blitz attack will happen and then they will go after the object of their rage and or affection, depending on how you want to look at it. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And we'll talk more about targets and why targets are chosen in the next video because I want to do a little bit more research on it. But I have to do other stuff. I'm a very busy person apparently. Which I didn't think I was, but yeah, that's it for today's video. If you want to know more about blitz attacks, I would research it yourself. Because you know what you want more than I know what you want. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.